A chilly autumn evening had settled over the city, with the orange glow of the streetlights shimmering across the wet asphalt. Daniel, a single father in his mid-30s, was walking home from his shift at the auto repair shop. His son, Ethan, a bright 9-year-old with dreams bigger than their modest life could contain, walked beside him holding a half-empty backpack that jingled with school supplies. They didn't have much, but Daniel always made sure Ethan felt loved, cared for, and hopeful. As they reached the corner near the grocery store parking lot, Daniel noticed a sleek black luxury car parked awkwardly across two spaces. The engine was still running, and the headlights cast long beams into the mist. Something about it struck him as odd. He slowed down, his instincts sharpened from years of being both mother and father to Ethan. Suddenly, they saw movement. The driver's side door cracked open, and a woman stumbled out, clutching her chest. She collapsed against the hood of the car, gasping for breath before sliding down to the ground. Without hesitation, Daniel rushed forward, instructing Ethan to stay back but call emergency services on his old cell phone. The woman was dressed in a sharp navy business suit, her high heels kicked off as if she had been driving in a hurry. She was pale, trembling, her breath shallow. Daniel knelt beside her, gently tapping her face to keep her conscious. "Stay with me," he said firmly. "You're going to be okay. My son is calling for help." She looked at him with wide, frightened eyes, unable to speak, but her hand clutched his wrist with surprising strength. Daniel kept talking to her, reassuring her, counting her breaths. His hands were steady, his voice calm, though his heart raced. Years of being a father had taught him to be strong when others couldn't. Minutes later, which felt like hours, the ambulance pulled into the lot, its lights flashing red and white across the rain-slick pavement. Paramedics rushed in, and Daniel carefully stepped aside, though the woman's hand lingered on his for a moment before slipping away as they lifted her onto the stretcher. Ethan tugged on his father's sleeve. "Dad, do you think she'll be okay?" Daniel exhaled slowly. "I hope so, buddy. We did what we could." They watched as the ambulance doors shut and the siren wailed into the night. To them, it was just another chapter in their life of unexpected trials, helping a stranger and moving on. Daniel didn't know that this moment would ripple far beyond that night and touch his son's life in ways neither of them could imagine. The next morning, as Daniel was fixing an old pickup truck at the shop, a black SUV pulled up outside. Out stepped a sharply dressed man and a young woman who looked familiar, though healthier than the night before. It was the same woman, tall, elegant, with sharp eyes that softened when they landed on Daniel. "You," she said, walking straight toward him. "You're the one who helped me last night." Daniel wiped his hands on a rag, slightly embarrassed by the grease stains on his shirt. "I just did what anyone would have done." She shook her head firmly. "No, most people would have driven past, or hesitated. You saved me." The man beside her introduced himself as her assistant. The woman extended her hand. "I'm Victoria Lane, CEO of Lane Enterprises." Daniel blinked, stunned. He had heard of her company. It dominated tech innovation in the city. She was one of the most influential figures in business. And yet, here she was, standing in his dusty auto shop, thanking him personally. Victoria smiled faintly. "I'd like to do something for you. For your son too." "What's his name?" "Ethan," Daniel replied cautiously. That afternoon, Victoria insisted on taking them both to lunch. Ethan was shy, at first, overwhelmed by the fancy restaurant with glass chandeliers and polished silverware, but Victoria leaned down and spoke to him with genuine warmth. "Your dad's a hero, you know. You should be proud." Ethan grinned. "I already am." For Daniel, the gesture felt surreal. He wasn't used to attention, let alone from someone like her. But over the next weeks, Victoria didn't fade from their lives. She called to check on them, sent books and educational kits for Ethan, and even visited their small apartment once, bringing along dinner. At first, Daniel resisted. He wasn't used to charity and hated feeling indebted. But Victoria wasn't offering pity, she was offering opportunities. One day, she invited Ethan to visit Lane Enterprises Innovation Center. The boy's eyes lit up as he explored the labs filled with robotics, coding stations, and futuristic gadgets. "Dad, look at this," Ethan shouted, his excitement contagious. Daniel smiled, his heart swelling with pride. For the first time, he saw his son's dreams take shape, no longer limited by their circumstances. Victoria knelt beside Ethan. "You're smart, Ethan, I can see it. You belong in places like this. How would you like to join our youth innovation program? It's for kids with big ideas." Ethan's eyes widened. He looked at his father for permission. Daniel hesitated, then nodded. "If it's what you want, son." From that moment on, Ethan's life began to change. He started attending weekend classes at Lane Enterprises, surrounded by mentors who fueled his curiosity. He learned coding, engineering basics, and problem solving. He began building small gadgets at home, filling their tiny apartment with tools and wires. Daniel didn't always understand the projects, but he supported him completely. Meanwhile, Victoria and Daniel grew closer. Their bond wasn't built on extravagance, but on small moments, sharing coffee in the shop, talking about the struggles of responsibility, and the loneliness that came with leadership. She admired his humility and resilience, while he admired her strength and vision. One evening, as they sat watching Ethan present his first robotics project at a youth showcase, Victoria leaned over and whispered, "You didn't just save me that night. You changed your son's life, and mine too." Daniel glanced at her, his heart unexpectedly full. He realized that what had started as a chance encounter was becoming something much deeper. Months passed. Ethan thrived, his projects winning recognition and scholarships. Victoria continued to be a guiding presence, not just as a benefactor but as a friend. And for Daniel, who had once felt like the world had left him behind, he now saw a future where his son had every opportunity to rise beyond the limits of their past. On a quiet night, Daniel tucked Ethan into bed. The boy clutched a small circuit board he had been working on. "Dad," he said sleepily, "do you think I can really change the world someday?" Daniel kissed his forehead. "You already are, buddy. You already are." And in the silence of their small apartment, Daniel allowed himself to believe, for the first time in years, that fate had not just tested him but had rewarded him. The single dad who had once only dreamed of giving his son a better life had, through one selfless act, opened a door to a future brighter than he had ever dared to hope.